Are pathological lies born that way? Or do things happen that make them that way? You'll have to make up your own mind by the end of this story. But this isn't a story about lies. It's about a night that made a quiet town famous. It starts with a young woman who went missing without a sign, and a mystery that made people all over the country want to find out the truth. These are the facts about Tove Tunis, a 21-year-old medicine student, soccer player, and substitute teacher who has a great future ahead of her. But Tove didn't come home from a night out with friends on October 15th, 2022. Vetlanda, Sweden, is a small, close-knit town of only 14,000 people. It's the kind of place where nothing much happens. Everyone knows each other by name. And nights out usually end with a quiet walk home. But tonight was different. Something would happen that would make people in this quiet town look for answers. Albin, Tove's boyfriend, was at home with her. They were taking it easy by playing Minecraft and talking to friends on Discord. Around midnight, their friend Mohammed told them they should go out. It was October 1st after all, and the town was full of happy people. Tove chose to go with Mohammed and his brother Amir, so she got on her bike and rode for 10 minutes to Noyet, a famous bar and entertainment spot in the area. Albin stayed behind to take care of their dog though. Around 12:10 a.m., Tove got to Noyet, and soon after, he met Mohammed and Amir. You can eat, bowl, and sometimes even see live music at Noyet, which is more than just a bar. They had less than an hour to stay inside before it closed at 1 a.m., and then they went their separate ways. Albin got a text from Tove at 1:08 a.m., but it wasn't what he looked forward to. What it said was, "Johanna hit me." Albin called her right away. Tove told him she was okay and said she would explain everything when she got home. But here's the thing. Johanna and Tove knew each other before. In 2020, they were friends, but things had gone badly between them for reasons we'll talk about later. He called Tove again at 1:49 a.m. Before he went to sleep, he wanted to check on her one more time. He was angry, so Tove told him she was going to Johanna's place to settle things. Albin didn't like this plan. Johanna and her friend Maya could be heard in the background, but he knew Tove would not give up. He told her to watch out and call him if something went wrong. Albin woke up early the next morning to find that Tove still wasn't home. She didn't text or call. He tried to call her phone through Snapchat at 5:46 a.m., but there was no answer. It was still nothing when he tried again a minute later. Albin remembers Tove talking about Johanna's apartment, even though he was tired and confused. Even though it was early, he called Johanna at 5:53 a.m., but she didn't answer. But around 6 a.m., Johanna called him again. They talked for a half hour. Johanna said she had just gotten out of the shower and that Tove had left her room around 3 a.m., hours before. Albin thought that Tove must have gone to her dad's house based on this knowledge. Peter, her dad, wasn't there when he called though. Albin thought that Tove's phone must have died and that she should have crashed at her dad's house after a party. He fell back to sleep because he was so tired. After a few hours, he woke up again, but Tove wasn't there. She hadn't called him back or gotten in touch with him. From Peter, he learned that Tove had not slept over or called him either. Albin was now in a panic. The two men agreed to look for her together. Albin called Johanna again at 9:53 a.m. They talked for 5 minutes, and Johanna told the same story again. Tove had already left her flat hours before. At the same time, Peter found Tove's bike not far from Johanna's room, about 100 to 200 meters away. The door was open and the box was empty, but Tove was nowhere to be found. For hours, Tove's family looked for her but couldn't find her. At 4:19 p.m., they called the police to report her missing. Tove was 160 centimeters tall, had a normal body type, and curly red hair. She was holding her cell phone and credit card. People in Vetlanda knew Tove well. Others knew she was on a year-long break to rethink her life, but they also knew she took antidepressants and thought she might have run away. On the other hand, her family and friends said she was fine and didn't need to leave. The police turned up the search and started putting together the hints. When they asked people at Noyet about it, they said there had been a fight that night, but they weren't sure what happened. Tove's friends said she was still having a good time before the fight. Johanna and Maya were the last people who seemed to have talked to Tove. Since Tove's bike was found so close to Johanna's apartment, cops paid extra attention to that area. A friend of Johanna's said they heard a loud thud that night when they asked other people in the area. The noise was so bad that the dad and son went to Johanna's apartment to see how she was doing. If you asked Johanna herself, she said that Tove had left her apartment at 3 a.m. and that she and her neighbors, the same ones who came to check on her, went to get McDonald's afterward. Johanna said that she and Tove had been close friends since 2020, but that fights, drinking, and personal problems had made their friendship worse. By the spring of that year, they had stopped talking to each other. Johanna said that Tove had problems with hurting herself, drinking, and acting in ways that were meant to get attention. Johanna also talked about the fight she had with Tove that night at the bar. She said Tove walked up to her out of the blue and asked, "Johanna, how are you feeling?" She was having a good time with Maya and another friend. "You're the worst person in the world." Johanna told Tove that she told her to leave her alone, but Tove hit her in the head with herself. Johanna insisted that she could have been badly hurt if her friends hadn't stepped in, and she talked to security to stop things from getting worse, so she could make things right. She gently asked Tove to come to her apartment to talk things over, and Tove agreed. In fact, they hugged each other goodbye at 3 a.m. at their apartment before going their separate ways. She said that she didn't know where Tove went after that, and it turned out that no one else did either. Also, what was that loud noise that woke up her neighbors? Maya had been sick, Johanna said, and she threw up and fell to the bathroom floor, making that loud thud. It was Johanna who said she cleaned up the mess. After helping her friend Maya get up, she told Tove to leave so she could help Maya even more. Tove left around 3 a.m., and then Johanna decided to get some food for Maya to help her feel better. That's when she ran into her friend, who offered her a ride to McDonald's. At this point, this was all the officers had to go on. Even though they still hadn't found Tove or her cell phone, they were able to use a mobile network to find out where her phone was, which was a very different story. The calls on her phone went back and forth between Johanna's flat and McDonald's from 2:47 to 3:08. It went back to Johanna's room at 3:08 and stayed there until 3:45. The last ping from a long way away was at 3:50, and after that, no more activity was seen. If Tove had left Johanna's apartment at 3 a.m., why did her cell phone show that she was near Johanna? Another thing that didn't make sense about Johanna's story was that she said she didn't see Tove's bike on her way back from McDonald's. Her neighbor, who went to McDonald's with her, said the bike was still there when they got back, which was not true. People in town had strong feelings about Johanna and didn't like how she played Tove's role. Mai, Tove's twin sister, said that the two of them had a fight with Johanna and had stopped talking to her. One reason was the many lies Johanna was telling, like that Tove was cheating on her boyfriend. Another ex-boyfriend of Johanna's said she tried to set fire to his apartment, but he never told the cops. Also, On January 6th, that year, someone burned down the front door of Tove and Mai's family. Investigators later looked at Johanna's phone records and found that she had been nearby at the time. The police looked through Johanna's apartment. The flat, especially the bathroom, had a strong smell of cleaners. A roll of black trash bags, a wine box, and 2 wine glasses were found by the police. It seemed strange for someone to clean their room so well, but not bother to clean the wine glasses. The father and son, who lived next door to Johanna, heard more than just 4 loud bangs that night. They also heard what sounded like kicking. They knocked on the door, but no one answered. The son stayed outside while the father came back in. Soon after, Johanna came out and talked to the son. He offered to drive her to McDonald's. When I talked to Maya, her story matched up with Johanna's. It seemed something far more sinister had taken place inside the flat than what was being admitted. To find Tove, detectives needed more proof, but they were afraid of what they might find. Tove was being looked for by volunteers and search teams. After a few weeks, digital forensics came back with Maya and Johanna's phone data, which showed some strange patterns of movement. At 3 a.m., both phones were quiet. At 4 a.m., Johanna's start to ring again. Maya's phone wasn't able to connect again until 5:22. After a while, they made progress. Between 4:25 and 4:50 a.m., Johanna's phone rang in a forest east of Vetlanda. When police and search dogs went to the forest on October 16th, they didn't have to look for long before they saw a pair of feet lying next to the road. When you got closer, it looked like a partly burned body lying on its back. It was later proven to be Tove Turney's body. Her body was finally found on November 2nd, 17 days after she was reported missing. There were torn garbage bags and bedsheets nearby. The bags looked like the ones in Johanna's flat. Johanna clearly burned her body, and CCTV video from October 16th shows her buying 3 bottles of chemical gasoline or lighter fluid, 3 packs of wet wipes, and a white sheet. This is more proof that she did it. She used her Apple Wallet to pay 170 Swedish krona, and the ticket showed that it was paid for at 11:36 a.m. After that, she was seen driving off, probably to the place where she planned to burn Tove's body. Maya and Johanna were arrested. Johanna and Maya vehemently denied having anything to do with Tove's death, while being questioned, even when they were shown a lot of proof. Pics, phone records, and forest pine needles were found on Maya's clothing and Johanna's bed, but neither woman would move. But Johanna always had a way to explain what the evidence meant. Now she said that she and Maya went to the forest to eat hash cake, also known as weed cake. That's why she was hesitant to tell the police at first. Maya, on the other hand, denied ever eating hash in the bush when asked about this separately. She said it never happened. Johanna even tried to put the blame on her neighbor, since he was the one who drove her to and from McDonald's. There were many other reasons, but none of them made sense. Johanna and Maya's moves were still clear to see. Tove's DNA was found in the bathroom and in the back seat of Johanna's car, which was more proof that she was guilty, proving that her body had been taken to the forest. It took Johanna 22.5 months to finally decide to tell the truth. Sort of. Even though she admitted what she did, her story was full of holes. Johanna says she was showing Tove her newly remodeled bathroom, but Tove rudely ignored her, which led to a fight. Johanna said that Tove hit her during this time. Tove kicked me, so I sat on her, she said. What the hell are you doing? She asked. She then put her hands around my neck, so I did the same to hers and pushed. After she jerked, and coughed, there was no sound. That's when my mind stopped working. Something didn't make sense to me. When that time was up, it was quite... Johanna said that she and Maya tried to find Tove's pulse, but had no idea how to do it. She said Maya held Tove's arms down during the fight to help her, which made it sound like they killed her together by mistake. The cops weren't sure, though. According to the coroner's report, the steady, long-lasting pressure was consistent with strangulation that was done on purpose, not by mistake. Maya said in her own statement that she had nothing to do with the fight. She said that she was asleep at the time of the event and didn't realize that Tove was dead until she woke up. She said that the only reason she helped Johanna move the body was because she felt scared and had to. Johanna Johnson and Maya Hellman were put on trial for killing Tove Tunnies. The defense made big claims on March 27, 2023. They said that Tove had choked on her own vomit because she had been drinking too much that night. Maya's defense strongly denied that she had anything to do with holding Tove's arms down, but the coroner's report said that Tove's arms may have been pressed against a flat surface, like a floor. Even though this wasn't proof, it made the defense's story even less likely to be true. When Johanna said she had set Tove's body on fire, it was one of the strangest parts of the trial. What was her reason? She said she killed Tove because she didn't want her to be alone in the forest and she thought Tove would want to be burned. Some shocking search terms that Johanna typed into her phone were "how to murder someone discreetly" and "what is prison like." Maya's phone showed searches that were comparable. When asked about the search terms she had used, like "how to murder someone discreetly," Johanna said she was looking for song lyrics that rhymed with discreet. She also wrote a song that was mean to Tove and Mai, her twin sister. She wrote a telling note on her iPhone to remind herself to clean her car right away after what happened. So why did this person do this crime? From what I've learned, I think that the murder of Tove Tunnies was caused by a pattern of growing personal anger, jealousy, and psychological trickery that led to a violent act. There is a lot of behavioral and circumstantial proof that Johanna had a personal grudge against Tove. This was made worse by Maya's inaction and lack of moral concern. In Johanna's case, there is a lot of proof that things are getting worse. For instance, she probably wrote that hate song because she was still angry, envious, or wanted to be in charge. Interpersonal aggression research shows that harassment that lasts for a long time, like spreading rumors or making someone look bad in public, often gets worse when the harasser sees the target as a threat to their social status or self-image. Johanna probably felt threatened by Tove, which is why she made up all these lies. She wanted to hurt Tove's relationships and reputation and make her feel alone. The FBI released a study in 2018 that looked at fire as a sign of impending murder. Cell phone records showed that Johanna was close to Tove's family's room when the fire happened. This makes it very likely that she was involved. In criminology, arson is often seen as a symbolic act of damage that shows the person who did it wants to erase or control their target. It's possible that the fire was meant to scare Tove or make her feel unsafe. Studies have shown that arsonists who have a grudge against the person they are targeting will often turn violent if they are not stopped. I think this is another case of making aggression worse. Johanna also tried to avoid people by sharing false information about Tove. She tried to make her look like someone she couldn't trust so that her support system would fall apart and she would be easier to attack again. That year, Tove was on a sabbatical, one of the many reasons being to take care of her mental health. It's possible that these acts had an effect on her over time. Albert Bandura's theory of moral disengagement explains how people justify doing bad things by looking at Maya's part, or more specifically, her lack of moral engagement and complacency. It's possible that Maya downplayed her part or put the blame on Johanna because she thought Johanna made her do it, which made her feel better. So this could be the reason she didn't ask for help or tell the truth all those months after the crime. Tove may have made fun of Johanna's social standing, relationships, or self-esteem without meaning to, which made her jealous and want to be in charge. This pattern of threats, from reports to arson, made it seem like someone wanted to control or even get rid of Tove's presence. Lastly, the way the group worked. Johanna and Maya worked together, and the way they talked to each other could have made Johanna's bad behavior worse. Because Johanna wanted to be in charge and Maya wanted to be a good friend, they may have set off a positive feedback circle of increasing violence that destroyed Tove. Relational aggression study from the University of Illinois came out in 1995. It showed that girls as young as 6 years old were much more likely to be relationally aggressive than boys. This shows up as physical or verbal anger and is caused by problems with other people. After years of relational violence that wasn't stopped, fixed, or punished, Johanna's crimes reached their peak that early October morning. It was April 19th, 2023, and both Johanna and Maya were given life sentences for murder and gross body abuse. In Sweden's history, this was the first time that a woman younger than 21 had been given this kind of term. That's not the end of the story, though. Johanna's sentence was cut to 16 years in jail after she filed an appeal in October 2023. Maya, on the other hand, was found not guilty of murder. She was still found guilty of gross breach of a body, but she was free because she had already been in jail for a year. Still, there's more. Aftonbladet says Johanna tried to get out of the Hinsberg prison for women on December 31st, 2023. With another prisoner, she planned to restrain a guard and use tweezers to blind both of his eyes. They would then escape before the guards could sound the alarm. She was moved to a different jail when their plan was found out during an inspection. It won't be long before she gets out of jail. There is no way to know for sure what happened to Tove that night because both women, especially Johanna, have been lying all the time. I can't help but feel that the world has lost a possible medical worker. And how can people trust someone who lies all the time and gives the silliest reasons?